Well, hello, listeners. Today, I have the privilege and honor of hosting on our show today Michael and Erika Amory of Berkshire Hathaway Amory Real Estate Team. They're parents, they're soccer and gymnastics coaches, and they're professionals, top producers in the real estate world here in the Hampton Roads area. And just like to welcome you guys to our show today.
Thank you very much. Excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, I like to start off and just kind of ask questions like, how did you get into real estate? How are you here? Was it a goal that, you're like, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a real estate agent or what's your background?
Yeah. So you want me to go first, and then you can kind of talk once to get it. So started off owning my own business. Parents owned their own businesses. Got out of college, and I'd worked at Red Lobster in the process for probably 2 years, and I could, and nothing against Red Lobster. They got a great business, but I couldn't take it. I wanted to run like my own farm. So real estate, you can be a one person show. It's easier the more, people you have helping you, but I didn't have to have employees. I'm a 1099 independent contractor. So I thought that was attractive in itself. From my parents' own businesses, I'd received some stocks. So I was interested in investing with it. When I was working, I had a business cutting grass, and my grandma was like, you need to work smart. So all that came together. Real estate seemed to make sense. And really I jumped in and bought a house, a trashed house, foreclosure, bought it, lived in it, fixed it up as I went, sold it a year after. In the process, met all the neighbors. So got into it for investing, and the sales business took off. Probably because I waved to everyone. I don't know, but meeting the people wasn't hard for me. And once I was getting knowledge of real estate by fixing the houses. And then the sales took off. Facebook kind of took off at that time. So I was able to bring that social media that I grew up with in college to business, which I'd kind of been doing because I grew up in it. Get to a certain point, got married, found this beautiful woman here. And at this point, I convinced her to quit her job. We were living in probably the second or third house that we had flipped. And I've convinced her to quit. Now, fast forwarding that time, she manages the operation. And you can say, you talk about you, but from buying that first house to now, we're a 2-person gig, and my mom sells real estate. But Erika, yeah, how did you get into it? I mean,
Well, just that. I'm an accountant by trade and by degree in college. So I moved here after school, and Michael and I, like you said, we flipped 2 houses, I think, and kind of lived in them. And I had an accounting job, but it just kind of got to the point where I didn't like the 9 to 5. His schedule was all over the place. So this, really kind of sucks. And he was like, well, I'm getting busy. I need to hire somebody. Let's get your license. So I got my license while I was still working. And once I passed, I kind of just quit, and we took the leap, and it worked. So
That's awesome. So you're like, yeah, this 9 to 5 thing is sucking the life out of me.
yeah.
well, it's 9 to 5, but you got an hour and a half commute to work.
Yeah.
Then you got an hour and a half commute back from work. So it's really like a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
On her.
Holy smokes.
So I was like, look, do whatever you want, but you're yelling at me a lot. No, I'm playing. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because if you just let it work, things work themselves out. So once I kind of got her with the program, together we've accomplished a lot.
Well, that's awesome. And, I mean, it's great that you put yourself in a position to do that. And I can totally relate to that. I mean, I can't relate to an hour and a half commute though. That I don't know what that would be like, but I think I would pull my hair out for sure. But that's why I went into business for myself so many years ago as well, because I felt like I wanted to kind of spread my wings and make my own decisions and my own choices and set my own hours. But you guys know that, and I want to get into how working together as a married couple works, because my wife was in business with me for a number of years, and we did well, but it was interesting. But you also
It was
realize with
interesting.
I know it was, hey, we're still married, life's good. It was
There we
great.
go.
Yeah. So, but the idea that, you know, the freedom and flexibility that you've got comes at, I mean, there's work involved, right? I mean, it's not just, you're not just sitting around now and all of a sudden, you know, you know, the money's coming in so fast, you need to hire somebody to count it. You got to do something, right? You got to be
Yeah.
disciplined and focused and actually go after it.
Yep. No, exactly.
So how is it working together? Was it an easy transition, or it take a little while to kind of learn to dance?
It was flawless. You know, we just went right into it. And it's just every day is just incredible. Not planned. It's not. That wasn't.
Yeah.
You go.
No, I don't know. I don't really recall there being like a huge I think because Michael was still learning too when I started, it was better that way versus like someone that was kind of already set in their ways, already had their systems in place and already established. So I think it helped being able to kind of like grow together instead of like jumping in and, you know, taking over or trying to tell him what to do or how to do things. We were kind of he was still trying to figure all that out too. So
Mhm.
I don't recall it being like a huge maybe you remember it differently. I
Nah,
feel like
she
it was
so the beauty about our, you know, let's call it business relationship and home is they're similar. She's good at a lot of things, management, time, at being on time and staying organized, keeping us on track. It's the same at work. I mean, I perform and she's the manager.
work on
I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I say, you know, it's like, hey, go cut the grass. All right. Wait, do I have time to cut the grass? We got a showing at 3. She's like, well, if you cut the grass at 1 and you need to get in the shower, you know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
system that's it really runs well. Is it easy? No, no.
Yeah.
We're still married. We love each other. We got a kid, but it is, you know, there are times when, and I don't, you know, we hadn't been married or in business a long time considering, but at this point, you definitely feel levels of like, hey, we are resolving conflict way better than we were. Or,
Yeah.
you know, I appreciate what you did there. And I think it just takes time to get to a point that you can see something and be like, hey, you know, she did great. That was great work she put in. And now be like, hey, you know, thank you.
I think the
So
hardest part too is just and because of the nature of our job, it's just turning it off. Like we go to bed talking about real estate, you know? So it's like
Right.
sometimes I think that's the biggest challenge is
not in a bad way.
yeah, and I guess it's maybe not in a bad way. Some people may look at it as a bad thing, but it
We
is
talk
hard to
dirty
like
real estate. We talk
sometimes it is hard to, you know, shut it down, I guess. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was our thing too, because and it went great for us too. My wife exited once we had our daughter, and then we did some other things, but it wasn't because we weren't getting
talk
along.
that.
No, you couldn't. Well, that's because she's running a smooth operation and she can keep you doing what you need to do, right?
Yeah. I was like, look, we can get a babysitter or we can hire someone to help us with real estate. She was like, no, I got it. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Well, yeah, it never ceases to amaze me the amount of capability and talent that particularly women have to multitask and do like 8 things well. When we guys, at least speaking for myself and a lot of people that I know, we're hard. It's hard for us to do one thing well and stay on task.
Thank you. I
Honestly,
feel better now.
yeah. Oh, it's totally true. Yes, that's why God had women have the kids and not men. I
That
think,
makes
but
sense.
yeah, right. So, okay, so you guys have worked out the team because every great sales leader, business builder needs a back office, somebody that can make things happen on the back end, right, to deliver. So it sounds like you guys have figured that piece out pretty well. It also sounds like what you said, Eric, about you came in at an early enough stage that you could help kind of design those systems and be a part of that. You're not just taking over something that was already put in
right.
place.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's great. And I bet with your accounting background, you have it helps because it's a numbers business, right? A lot of
Yeah.
money rolling around.
And
Yeah.
when we go like on appointments, I love it because she's a by the data thing or thought, right? So she's facts, figures. So when I go to a listing appointment or when I'm talking to the buyers, I've thought about it more than one way. And I think
Mm.
that's good because everything's so scenario driven, like with real estate. that when we see market trends, we can make adjustments by the listing, which I think is incredible. And what I mean by that is like, we go on an appointment. Well, we've been helping buyers. We're pretty 50-50 on buyers, sellers. So I go into the appointment. I know the data. I know the trends. The data and what the number trends are, right? Because Erika's hit me with all that info and she's given me her opinion. Then I go in with the like consumer demand experience, listening to what the buyers are saying buy the house and seeing what people are qualifying for. It's helpful for us to say, hey, this is the numbers. Here's your opportunity zone. We can do what you want to do. And this is a likely, foreshadowing of events. And I think that helps people get through the most stressful time of their life other than getting married and having a baby easier. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
just two different minds, like two different brains, Yeah, one's more type A, one's more not type A, whatever that is. Yeah. With buyers and sellers, like you were saying, just you've got one data driven, you've got one
Mhm.
creative mind, and when they come together, it's normally a good thing and a good combination to have. So
It is a great thing. In fact, they said, hopefully I don't hack this, that people make decisions like it's an emotional decisions backed up by logic is kind of the best decision, right? It's not
Yeah.
just emotionally driven. It's not just logically driven, but the combination of the two kind of looks at the problem holistically and you're like, okay, I've addressed this thing. And so you guys are able to bring that to the table. That sounds really awesome, actually.
And you get, and it, and I don't, and in my thought, I constantly think about this. I think it just keeps risk low.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
What way? Give me an example.
So you're making adjustments, but you're not like adjusting. You're like tweaking it. And then so you can keep on a path and keep adjusting to where you want to be instead of like going hard left, then you're utterly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Like on just like a purely emotional play. You're like,
Right.
oh, I'm going to go this way or this way.
Yeah.
You're kind of all over the map. You have some constraints in there. And I think, would you agree that buying a house, you mentioned it's like one of the top most stressful times of your life, which I certainly agree on. But, people, they're not thinking totally clearly in that moment, are they? Because they're like in the middle of the event.
I like to say, day one, I want to listen to your goals and what your timeline is. And in my opinion, my job is to, let's say we're buying. My job is to keep you on par with what you said your goals are. If you want to alter that, you're driving the ship. I'm just here to reiterate what you said initially, where you wanted to live, the things you wanted in the house, and how much you wanted it to cost. And I think those three like criteria drivers it's super simple, but just say, hey, yeah, sure. This house looks great. It's not where you say you want it to be. Like, you sure you're cool with that? Well, maybe, or does that make sense? I just kind of remind you of what you said you wanted.
well, I think your question was, do you find that people don't, that they do act out of emotion and maybe not with a lot of logic? And I think it's so situational. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a good reason that they're selling the house, then I think you tend to see people stay more level-headed and remember their goals or remember what you told them,
Mm.
or maybe it's not an ideal situation for whatever it may be that they're having to sell or move, and then sure, things can get emotional, or maybe they're just leaving their house that they raised their kids in. And I think a lot of times you see it throughout the transaction. Like, people will start out being super level-headed. Yes, we're on this, we got it. And then it gets hard. You start moving your things, you start,
Ah,
or the inspection goes bad or whatever
Yeah.
might happen. And then so I think it's kind of a roller coaster, the entire transaction. Like, it's a mix. So, and I think that's where it helps too, because I feel like I'm more of the calming, like, good, this is what we talked about. Whereas,
I'm crazy.
no, but I think it's a good mix because people have mixed emotions throughout the transaction too. So I think that's,
yeah.
We can prepare you for what's to come, at least.
Well, I think that's really beneficial because, I know they've said for years that one day, the world won't need realtors anymore, won't need local mortgage people anymore. And everything will be done in some computer in California, right? And but the reality is that'll never be the case, right? Because people are people. These are emotional decisions. They need somebody to sort of quarterback it, keep them between those boundaries, right? Those guardrails that you said, this is what you wanted. Let's go back to why you wanted to be there. And here's potentially what could happen. So let's prepare in advance. So in case it does, we're ready, kind of thing.
And I'll be the first to tell you, because I apparently love learning by mistakes. The mistakes in real estate, they start at $1,000 and work their way up. So it's not, I mean, having, I love doing things myself, fix this, my that. All right, let's YouTube it. How do I do it? But there's also certain points where I stay in my lane. And
Yeah.
for me, since I'm in real estate, I'm not going to say, well, I use myself. Yeah. But like financial advising, let the financial advisor do it. Or I'm really big in those service industries. Just let those people do their thing. And you don't have to think about it, worry about it.
Well, so much stuff has gone online, and I think that's fine. But I think, yeah, real estate, financial advising, lending, I mean, everything like that, there just comes a point where a line has to be drawn, and you still need a person. You're talking about large amounts of money.
Mess up's expensive.
You're not,
Right.
High
I don't
risk.
think it's going to become a thing. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, switching gears a little bit, what do you guys see with all your experience in the market? And you represent buyers, sellers about equally, it sounds like. What do you see with the shift in the market over the last, this year? Obviously, you were in and successful before the crazy COVID run up. Now we sort of saw that. Now we're sort of on the back end of that. What are you seeing, and how are you advising your buyers and sellers? I mean, how are you setting expectations these days?
Okay, so what do we see and how do we advise? First of all, I love the changing environment. I find it like just so gratifying figuring out solutions to it and like using that adversity that you have to figure out. Like I find that incredibly fun and scary at the same time.
Right.
So what do I see? I guess this is a played out response, but Hampton Roads, 49 to 51% military activity. We also have, in my opinion, a large first time buyer market because you have supporting services with the port, the shipyard, and medical.
Right.
So, and now you got Amazon facility work coming in. So first time buyers, that under 500 buyer, I mean, that's a huge part on top of the military. I mean, I don't like saying like changing markets are sustainable, but the military and business coming into Hampton Roads makes our market very healthy. And I think that's the conclusions I've came to in the time I've spent. Whether you want to do short-term investing, long-term investing, you're buying to live here for less than 5 years, you're going to find your forever home. I mean, I think the market is just healthy here. And there's really no downside to it. I say that because I drank the real estate Kool-Aid, but it's hard to see downside in such a stable, healthy situation.
Yeah. Well, I think for like us as agents, yes, the market stays healthy. There's always people buying. There's always people selling. Yes.
You got to lose somewhere.
Right. But as far as how is the market going for the buyer or the seller, I
What
think
you got,
what we
Erika?
talked about yesterday. Well, I think it's headed back to normal. I think that, the end of 2019 into 2020 and through 2021 was unrealistic. I mean, real
Outlier.
It's like you can't even use it as real data, I don't think, to project, to forecast your business or anything like that. But I think we are headed back to normal personally. And I don't think prices are going to rise anymore, just because the interest rates have gone up. But again, we had a luncheon yesterday with our CEO, and she was just talking about, those 2% and 3% interest rates were just so crazy that this 6 and 7 is normal. Yes, it's a little bit of a shock to maybe all these buyers that started kind of looking last year and looking when the rates were low, or know a friend that got a 2 or 3% interest rate. And now they're like, I'm not buying at 6%. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But when in the scheme of things, it's really not. They're fine. The interest rates are good and normal. So I think we're headed back to somewhat of a stable market. I think days on market for listings has gone up. You're talking 2 and 3 to 5 days. And now I think we're somewhere close to 30 is the
Mm.
average days on market. So
That's a lot closer to normal, right? I mean,
normal,
if
right?
we
Yes,
take out the last couple
that
years,
is normal. We're
which is
seeing
definitely an outlier.
again, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of coming back around a little bit. And I think competition is still there. I mean, we still have buyers
Mhm.
putting in offers and they're competing or they're
Yeah.
losing or they're winning against other offers. So, but then we also have some buyers that are coming in under list price and asking for closing costs and getting the house. So
Yeah.
I think it's just everything's kind of adjusting. I think each little pocket of Hampton Roads is adjusting in a different time. It's not all happening at once, but
Right.
I
Good
think
point.
that we're headed back to somewhat of a normal, whatever I guess normal is,
That's the data.
market. Yeah.
I know that's the data. So consumer on my end, what I see is everybody's scared.
Hmm.
Is the computer screen good?
Yeah.
I think everybody's scared, right? So what does that mean? On the seller side, they're scared to be on the market over 10 days. What's going on? Is there buyers still? Let's drop
Right.
the price. So let's balance that emotion.
Yeah.
And that's where scared. Buying it. Rates are going up. We gotta wait. We gotta get rates coming back down. Well, they're scared again because costs are going up.
Well,
So
change is scary. I mean, everything is just,
back to
Mhm.
it. I love
Mhm.
it because we all know you have to live somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can keep paying, let's say your rent's $2,000 a month. All right. Well, you just dropped $24,000 on someone else's real estate. So if you don't like the rate, great, buy a cheaper house.
Yeah.
But to continue paying someone else's is a choice that I'm on the other side of.
Well, and you couple that concept with we're returning to normal, we're adjusting expectations. I mean, yeah, if you're a first time home buyer in the last 2 years, it's going to take a while for your brain to reset. But at the end of the day, you're not married to an interest rate, right? So if rates are at, in the mid sixes right now, they will adjust down a little bit. Maybe it looks like first quarter next year, we're going to be in the fives again, just based on the inflation data and the GDP and all that. But it's not going to go to threes. I mean, it's fives are great in the long-term scheme of things. It's an awesome rate. But so if somebody buys today at a 6.5 and a year from now, the rates are down in the fives, they can always refinance the rate. I mean, it's not that big. You're not married to it forever. So,
and I think I listened to Dave Ramsey say something similar to that. Like prices, like buy right now. The prices are not, you risk the prices going up. Sure, the interest
mhm,
rates may go up and down, but again, you can refinance. Like if you want the house, you buy the house now, worry about the
right.
interest rate, when that time comes, if you have to. Yeah.
That's right. And prices, like unlike, the '07, '08, '09 crash, we're not anywhere near that from a real estate housing pricing perspective. We're not in Phoenix or San Diego or anything like that, right? As you mentioned, Michael, about how stable this area is with the military and the Amazon coming in and all that. So you've got all the people that did refinance down into the 3% and below range. There's about 35% of homeowners. They're not going to sell their house unless they absolutely have to, right?
Well, I think so, on the service side of that, why should we sell our house? Well, you're going to make substantially more money than you were than 2 years ago.
What
So,
about if they refinance? So the people that have refinanced, they're not going to sell, right? Because they've taken out their equity.
well, right. So, agreed. But you're not going to get that low of a payment on the money. Agreed, 100%. But you can if you put more money down, which you should have appreciated if you owned the monopoly piece prior, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, if you're selling, yeah, you got to put your money back into the house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you want a higher payment, but you got money in your pocket. So I don't know. I mean, and on top of it, everybody's getting paid more from what I can see.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, you talk about, I think, the affordability issue because I know everyone talks about that. But yeah, I mean, average pay increases of last year have been around 11%. So when you factor that in, if you made $80,000, you got an $8,800 a year pay raise, which offsets an interest rate increase pretty significantly.
And I'm not a lender, so I don't take credit for this as like great knowledge on lending, but coupling two things together, I mean, I personally don't care about the rate as long as the payment's where I want the payment to be.
Mhm.
Now, that means you can't afford some things you could before, but
I think that's
Right.
the biggest deal right now is, yeah, you can talk interest rates, but when you go to set someone up on a home search or to go show them homes, what they could buy last year, of course, is so different now. I mean, prices
Right.
have gone up, number one, and then the interest rates have risen. So, yes, their payment can be what they can afford, sure, but what that was last year and what that is now are two totally different houses, So
Right.
I
Right.
think it's just gonna take time for it'll be fine. People are still buying and people are still
Mhm.
selling, of course,
rip the Band-Aid off.
but I think it just takes time for people to settle into the new norm and to just kind of, get rid of the shock of like, wow, now I can't buy what I wanted. The interest, it just takes
Yeah.
a bit of time.
Yeah.
But so we just not but and the reason I say this is we have a donut store in Norfolk, right? If we were paying $16 an hour, we couldn't get that many people like employees. I mean, you're competing now with a $20 wage, and I you're gonna be able to afford it. Just rip
Mhm.
off the Band-Aid, cut back costs in other areas.
Yeah, because I mean, anyway, the it's you got to live somewhere, and I agree. I mean, I think people are adjusting expectations. I really think when we turn the corner on the new year, because so much negative has been thrown at people from the media, and it's fear driven, and the pendulum seems to go both one way and then it goes the other way. And I think we're all the way up here now, and I think you got an election coming and whatnot. I think people will see that hey, there's some positive things. The
Yeah.
inflation numbers are going to start coming down a little bit, and be like, okay, we survived this. The world didn't end. Now we're heading into the new year. Spring's coming. We want to move our kids into the right school
Yeah.
district kind of thing, right? And I think we're going to see, personally, that's what I'm
No,
thinking.
I think
But
people's mindsets will kind of start to change a little bit with
And with COVID, I think people honestly think more about where they live more because what if you're stuck there for X
yep,
amount of time? So I think like I said, I think all things work out as long as you got somewhat of a positive mindset, whether you're the agent, the buyer, the broker,
mm,
or the seller. I mean, you just have to turn that adversity.
yeah, yeah. It's about just making it happen, right? That's what entrepreneurs do.
That's it. I mean, how
Just
you gonna
make it
figure it out?
happen. Well, tell me this, because we're actually almost at our 30 minutes here. Hard to believe. It's just gone fast. Tell anyone and everyone listening how they can connect up with you guys if they want to buy a house, sell a house, or I think you're also into investment properties, that sort of thing, right?
Yes. So 810-2455. That's a jingle I haven't perfected, but is getting there.
Okay. Can
So
you do that
that's
again? Do that again for us, Michael.
810-2455.
oh, wow.
So that's the jingle you won't forget, hopefully, and maybe someone will say, "Here's a jingle that's better." But just call me. I mean, and that's what I love about our business. Just call me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, Michael just saying his phone number. Well, no, we're on social media, Amory Real Estate on Facebook, Instagram. We're checking those daily. And then we have a website, michaelamoryrealtor.com. Google, we're on Google.
Hmm.
Text us.
And then through the Berkshire Hathaway website, we're on there as well. So,
Well, we'll get all that into the show notes, so it'll be in there, except for the singing part. I mean, I don't know how we'll do a clip. I think that'll be a good clip for you, Michael. We'll put that out on social media, right?
I love it. Thank you.
Well, look, I have really enjoyed talking with you guys. It's great to see another husband and wife team together, successful. I like how you balance each other really well, and add really tremendous value because of that. You're really bringing the whole package to your clients and to what you do. So thanks for being with us today. Thanks for being on the show.
thanks
Yeah,
for
we
having us.
enjoyed it. Definitely something we were excited about. So yeah, thank you.
You bet.